A day after the U.S. surpassed 100,000 coronavirus deaths, President Trump for the first time noting the very sad milestone on Twitter, his favorite social media megaphone, even as he tries to crack down on the company and others. The president tonight signing an executive order calling on federal regulators to review a law that shields social media companies from being responsible for what people post on their sites.
They have a shield. They can do what they want. They have a shield. They're not going to have that shield.
President Trump still fuming about Twitter slapping a fact-check label on a pair of his tweets where he claimed mail-in ballots would be substantially fraudulent. But there's no evidence of widespread fraud in mail-in voting. Still, the president's accusing the tech companies of trying to stifle conservative voices, insisting they want to censor in advance of the 2020 election.
What they choose to fact-check and what they choose to ignore or even promote is nothing more than a political activism group or political activism.
While the government cannot restrict free speech, private companies can set whatever rules they like.
It's a really important thing to do thoughtful, important legislation, and this is not the way to do it. It's slapdash, it's angry, it's belligerent, it's punitive, and it is not policy.
Meantime, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is today criticizing Twitter.
We have a different policy, I think, than Twitter on this. I just believe strongly that Facebook shouldn't be the arbiter of truth of everything that people say online.
Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey saying his site's not an arbiter of truth, but that its intention is to show information in dispute so people can judge for themselves. Also tonight, the Trump administration is threatening sanctions against China after its leaders today said that they would impose a strict national security law on Hong Kong, violating its promise that Hong Kong would be able to govern itself. That move was quickly slammed by the U.S., Britain, Australia, and Canada as well, and it lays the groundwork for China to crack down on pro-democracy activists.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here. And click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.